It begins with the sound of a machine that seems to breathe, a pulse of metal, heat, and willpower echoing across racetracks and empty back roads alike. A machine that didn't just chase speed, but mastered it through balance and belief, proving that precision and aggression could coexist in perfect mechanical harmony. For decades, it stood as the weapon of choice for riders who demanded victory, setting lap records and championship streaks that other manufacturers could only study and envy. Its story isn't just about horsepower or technology, it's about the relentless pursuit of dominance, the evolution of design under pressure, and the riders who found their identity in every corner it carved. From factory engineers to private garages, it became a legend because it earned every win the hard way. This isn't nostalgia. It's a case study in how excellence gets engineered, refined, and immortalized through performance. Stay tuned because we're about to explore how one motorcycle reshaped the entire concept of racing supremacy. Like and subscribe if you love stories of innovation and grit, and drop a comment with the next machine you want to see featured. The Suzuki GSX-R1000 didn't arrive quietly. It landed like a lightning strike in 2001, a decade-defining moment for performance motorcycles. Suzuki had already established itself as a serious player in the superbike world, but the GSX-R1000 was something else, a complete reimagining of what a leader-class sport bike could be. It was the culmination of Suzuki's experience in MotoGP and endurance racing, poured into a machine designed to dominate both the racetrack and the showroom. The intent was clear from day one: deliver a power-to-weight ratio that left rivals gasping and riders grinning. Yet behind that mission was a much deeper story of engineering philosophy, ambition, and timing. Suzuki engineers were working in a world obsessed with numbers, horsepower, torque, top speed, but they chose to focus on something harder to quantify: control. The GSX-R1000 wasn't built to simply outrun its rivals. It was designed to outthink them. Its 988cc inline-4 engine, compact, rev-happy, and brutally efficient, was paired with an aluminum twin-spar frame so light and rigid that it gave riders telepathic feedback. Every input mattered. Every movement translated into motion with precision few bikes could match. In an era when manufacturers were chasing brute force, Suzuki chose to chase harmony, crafting a superbike that felt alive, almost intuitive beneath the rider. The GSX-R1000's secret weapon wasn't just its engine, though that alone could have carried it to fame. It was the integration of technology in service of feel, the Suzuki dual throttle valve system, for instance, which smoothed throttle response without dulling power. That meant a bike that could behave gently on the street, then roar with ferocity on the track. Its designers understood that control builds confidence, and confidence wins races. But the path to this level of performance came with hard choices. Weight was stripped ruthlessly but not recklessly. Every gram had to justify its existence. Magnesium covers, titanium valves, even the subframe were engineered to shave ounces without compromising stability. Suzuki wanted the GSX-R1000 to feel flickable in tight corners, yet rock solid at 180 miles per hour. Achieving that balance required more than CAD models and simulations. It required test riders willing to push the limits on prototypes that were sometimes too wild for comfort. And that culture of fearless testing bled into the final product. The GSX-R1000 became known not just for its speed, but for the visceral connection it offered, a feeling that the bike was an extension of the rider's body. That's what made it special to racers and enthusiasts alike. It didn't feel like a machine you had to tame. It felt like one that worked with you to go faster. In showrooms, that emotional connection translated into instant credibility. Riders saw the GSX-R1000 not as a mere purchase, but as entry into a performance brotherhood. Its design spoke to that identity. Angular bodywork that looked functional yet aggressive, minimalist graphics, and the iconic Gixxer stance that made it look fast even at rest. Suzuki's marketing was secondary. The bike's reputation spread by word of mouth, from track days to group rides to the paddock. The first-generation GSX-R1000 became the poster child for attainable dominance, offering world-class performance without the exotic price tag of European rivals. Its accessibility was its genius. It allowed everyday riders to experience a level of precision once reserved for professionals. Owning one was as much about pride as performance. Riders knew they were astride a machine bred for competition, even if their track was just a canyon road or a weekend event. Yet that accessibility also meant responsibility. The GSX-R1000 was not forgiving to those who underestimated it. With over 160 horsepower and razor-sharp responses, it demanded respect and skill in equal measure. But when treated with that respect, It rewarded its rider with unmatched clarity. Every braking zone, every apex, every exit a lesson in mechanical trust. Over time, Suzuki's engineers would refine this formula, but the original intent, lightweight, balanced, and brutally effective, never wavered. It was the DNA that defined every future GSX-R1000. As we move deeper into this story, we'll see how that DNA evolved, how it conquered championships, and how it forced every rival manufacturer to rethink their definition of speed. Because what started as a bold experiment soon became the benchmark for an entire generation of superbikes, reshaping the landscape of performance motorcycles for decades to come. By the time the Suzuki GSX-R1000 hit its stride in the early 2000s, it wasn't just another fast bike. It was the standard by which all others were judged. Every manufacturer had to respond to its arrival, and the ripple effect changed the sport bike segment overnight. Suzuki's engineers had done what few thought possible. They built a 1000cc machine that didn't feel intimidating to skilled riders, yet could destroy lap records in the right hands. That duality, raw speed balanced with confidence, became the hallmark of the GSX-R1000's dominance, and it's what carried it through nearly 2 decades of championship success. The GSX-R1000's racing pedigree came alive in series like AMA Superbike and World Superbike, where its blend of power and agility gave riders an edge that was almost unfair. Its inline-4 engine could rev past 13,000 RPM without strain, while the chassis let racers attack corners harder and exit cleaner than rivals. Suzuki had managed to build a machine that could be tuned for a weekend warrior or transformed into a factory-backed monster. This flexibility made it a favorite among privateers who wanted a competitive tool without the financial backing of a full race team. Every victory on Sunday translated to credibility on Monday, proof that the engineering inside the GSX-R1000 wasn't marketing fluff, but the real deal. Suzuki understood the psychology of racers and enthusiasts alike. The GSX-R1000 was a symbol of effort rewarded, a machine that gave back exactly what you put in. As the years rolled on, the competition heated up. Another manufacturer introduced ride-by-wire systems, traction control, and ever more aggressive power maps. But Suzuki stayed true to its core formula: deliver the most direct connection between throttle and tire. That focus earned it loyal fans, even as the technological arms race exploded. The GSX-R1000 evolved steadily, incorporating refinements without losing its soul. The 2005 model brought a more compact frame, a broader torque curve, and an aesthetic that looked like a coiled muscle waiting to strike. By 2007, Suzuki was claiming its place at the top of global racing, collecting titles and cementing its reputation as the bike to beat. And yet, beyond the trophies, what truly set it apart was the relationship it built with riders. In the US especially, the GSX-R1000 became a symbol of performance culture. It wasn't just parked in garages, it was part of lives. Track day riders swapped tuning tips, local mechanics built legends out of street machines, and an entire subculture grew around the Gixxer name. There was pride in mastering it, in understanding its limits and earning its respect. You didn't just ride a GSX-R1000, you graduated into it. But success comes with pressure. As emissions regulations tightened and electronics transformed the superbike world, Suzuki faced a crossroads. Rivals leaned into traction control, wheelie mitigation, and semi-active suspension. Suzuki waited. When the fully redesigned GSX-R1000 arrived for 2017, it had evolved with intent, now boasting variable valve timing, a ride-by-wire throttle, and a sophisticated electronics suite that still preserved that visceral, connected feel. It was a modernization done the Suzuki way, quietly, efficiently, and without diluting the essence that made the GSX-R1000 great. Every update came with purpose. Aerodynamics were reshaped, the frame was narrower, and the engine tuned to meet new emissions without sacrificing performance. And still, when tested against the latest machines from Europe and Japan, the GSX-R1000 could hold its own, proof that its DNA was fundamentally right from the start. Enthusiasts noticed that balance. They saw a machine that didn't chase gimmicks, but refined fundamentals. The GSX-R1000's loyal following grew stronger precisely because Suzuki never abandoned its identity. Even when the brand began to reduce its presence in top-level racing, private teams kept the torch alive. They ran the GSX-R1000 in endurance events, local championships, and club racing across the globe, winning not just with power, but with reliability and composure. Few superbikes earned such a reputation for consistency. Its longevity was legendary. While rivals cycled through complete redesigns every few years, the GSX-R1000 proved its platform could evolve gracefully. For tuners and custom builders, that stability was gold. The aftermarket exploded with parts, exhaust systems, suspension upgrades, ECU flashes, all feeding into a community of riders who treated their GSX-R1000s like long-term projects rather than disposable trends. It became the cornerstone of performance modification in the US sport bike scene. And that's the fascinating dual identity of the GSX-R1000. It was both an elite race machine and a people's superbike. It belonged on the podium and in the neighborhood garage. It could be fine-tuned by world-class engineers or by weekend wrenchers with torquer wrenches and YouTube tutorials. The accessibility that Suzuki built into it from the start allowed that ecosystem to thrive. The GSX-R1000 was never about flash. It was about focus. Every decade saw the world shift around it. Riding styles evolved, regulations tightened, and digital systems began to define the market. But the GSX-R1000 stayed rooted in its purpose. It existed for riders who wanted a machine that demanded skill, rewarded discipline, and punished arrogance. It was a bike that taught you something every time you rode it. And that lesson, control, patience, precision, was universal. As we move into its later years and explore what the GSX-R1000 ultimately represented, we'll see how that philosophy left a mark, not only on Suzuki's lineup, but on the entire culture of sport riding. Because this wasn't just a motorcycle, it was a statement of belief that true performance comes from balance, not excess, from mastery, not marketing. The Suzuki GSX-R1000's legacy didn't fade. It evolved, like a champion aging into legend while still carrying the scars of the battles it won. By the 2010s, the superbike world had changed dramatically. Electronics ruled the conversation, horsepower figures flirted with absurdity, and manufacturers were scrambling to build machines that could impress not only on track, but in algorithms and data sheets. Yet amid the noise, the GSX-R1000 stood out for something far more human. It still made riders feel everything. The 2017 GSX-R1000, a major redesign after years of incremental refinement, carried forward the same unshakable identity that defined the model since its 2001 debut. Suzuki called it "Own the Racetrack," and for once, that wasn't hyperbole. The engineers had condensed 15 years of race data into a chassis and engine package that blended heritage with innovation. Variable valve timing gave the motor mid-range muscle without sacrificing top-end fury, and the ride-by-wire system delivered power with surgical precision. The GSX-R1000 had joined the digital age, but it hadn't lost its soul. For riders who grew up on analog machines, that mattered more than spec sheets ever could. The GSX-R1000 reminded them that mastery still counted, that technology was there to enhance, not replace, the bond between rider and machine. As other bikes layered on increasingly complex electronics, the GSX-R1000 kept things intuitive. Its quick shifter and launch control were tools, not crutches. Its traction system worked quietly, without stealing the rider's confidence. Suzuki had refined its philosophy into a simple truth: progress should feel natural, not intrusive. And that clarity resonated deeply with enthusiasts who craved a pure connection. The GSX-R1000 was still about balance between mechanical purity and modern necessity. But as markets shifted, the world around it grew less forgiving. Superbike sales were declining, urbanization changed riding habits, and emission standards squeezed every manufacturer into hard decisions. Suzuki, a company known for cautious evolution, began to pull back from global racing. The GSX-R1000 became less visible in factory-backed campaigns, though it continued to dominate privateer series and endurance events. In the hands of passionate racers, it remained a weapon, its reliability and forgiving setup making it a natural fit for 24-hour competitions and grassroots championships. Even without the spotlight, it kept winning, quietly reinforcing its reputation as the working racer's superbike. Meanwhile, in garages and tuning shops across the US, the GSX-R1000 refused to die. Riders rebuilt them, customized them, and pushed their limits long after newer machines grabbed headlines. That's the beauty of the GSX-R1000. It was designed to last. Its overbuilt internals, durable gearbox, and strong aftermarket support turned it into a long-term companion instead of a fleeting performance toy. Riders passed them down, traded stories about epic rides, and compared notes on setups that made each bike feel unique. It was more than a motorcycle, it was a memory engine. Ask anyone who's owned one, and they'll tell you the same. It teaches you something about control, courage, and trust. And that's why the GSX-R1000 endures. It was never about chasing trends or pandering to fashion. It was about engineering something fundamentally right. Even now, with Suzuki's racing presence scaled back and newer machines dominating magazine covers, the GSX-R1000 continues to attract riders who want something real, something that doesn't need a screen to translate its soul. The GSX-R1000 represents a moment in motorcycling when purity and progress could still coexist, when a leader bike could be ferocious yet familiar. Its influence can be seen in every modern performance motorcycle that seeks balance between technology and feel. The GSX-R1000 proved that excellence isn't just measured in seconds or stats, it's measured in staying power. It built a bridge between eras, from carburetors to ride-by-wire, from steel frames to aluminum spars, from analog gauges to digital dashboards, all while preserving the same promise it made in 2001, to thrill the rider who's willing to rise to its challenge. As the sun sets on the era of pure combustion superbikes, the GSX-R1000 stands tall as one of the last true analog-feeling machines in a digital world. Its story is not about nostalgia, but about respect. Respect for engineering that values human instinct as much as computational perfection. Whether you ride one today or simply admire its history, the GSX-R1000 represents something timeless. The pursuit of mastery over machinery, the thrill of control earned, not given. And as the industry pivots to hybrids and electrics, the legacy of the GSX-R1000 reminds us what performance used to feel like: raw, direct, and deeply personal. That's why even decades later, its name still carries weight on racetracks, in tuning garages, and in the memories of those who twisted its throttle and felt what true connection between rider and machine really means. The Suzuki GSX-R1000 remains one of the most significant superbikes ever built, and its story is far from over. In the US, it still holds a loyal following because it delivers what few modern machines dare to promise: unfiltered performance, mechanical honesty, and a bond that rewards skill. For anyone looking to own one today, the landscape is remarkably friendly. Earlier models, particularly from 2001 to 2008, offer exceptional value, often available for the price of a mid-range commuter bike, yet still capable of astonishing performance. The later 2017 and up versions bring cutting-edge electronics and refinement without losing the essential GSX-R1000 character. Buyers should be mindful of condition more than mileage. These engines are notoriously durable if properly maintained, but neglect can turn a bargain into a burden. Parts availability remains strong thanks to Suzuki's long production run and a thriving aftermarket ecosystem, making restoration or modification both feasible and rewarding. In terms of reliability, the GSX-R1000 stands near the top of its class. Its engineering favors robustness over fragility. Even high-mileage examples can stay strong with basic care, oil, valve checks, and respect for the rev limiter. Insurance costs can vary by state, but the reputation for responsible owners keeps premiums manageable compared to other leader-class machines. What makes it special in the US context is how it bridges cultures. It's a track day hero, a canyon carver, and a Sunday showpiece all rolled into one, whether you ride it stock or built. The GSX-R1000 connects you to decades of development, racing triumphs, and a community that values the same thing Suzuki's engineers did: balance and control. It's a machine that reflects effort. It rewards focus and punishes arrogance, but for riders who learn its rhythm, it delivers an experience that's unmatched even by far newer bikes with more digital wizardry. Owning a GSX-R1000 isn't just about speed. It's about engaging with a lineage that shaped modern sport riding. It represents an era when skill mattered more than software, and when a rider's heart could still outthink the machine beneath them. So, if you ever find yourself at a dealership or scanning classifieds and spot that blue and white fairing or stealth black silhouette, remember what it stands for. The Suzuki GSX-R1000 isn't just a motorcycle. It's proof that true performance never goes out of style. It just finds new hands to carry it forward. And that's the legacy worth keeping alive, one throttle twist at a time.